Hi everybody, hope you're getting all prepared for our storm today. Just wanted to give you a quick update. Not a lot has changed really since yesterday morning's update, but I did want to give you an update with a few additional details, particularly on the second half of the storm, which continues to be the part of the storm that's probably still got the most uncertainty with it. The second half, basically that being the storm as the precipitation really starts getting going again late tomorrow and tomorrow afternoon after a bit of a lull overnight into early tomorrow morning in the snow. So with that being said, let's take a look at some of the maps here and get an idea of what's going to happen. We're going to start with radar. We looked at this a lot yesterday. I'm going to point out some of the things I did yesterday one more time just because they really illustrate what's going on. You can see this is at 1 p.m. on Sunday, and our snow shield is really starting to get close. Now there's quite a bit of virga. You've probably heard that term before. What that is it's really dry. If you were up early this morning, it was really cold. It's still cold out, but it was really cold, single-digit cold. I had 6 degrees at my house at one point this morning. And with the temperatures being that cold, that's because it's really dry. And so it takes a while for the air on the ground is going to absorb a lot of moisture, and it will do that with the snow beginning to fall into the moisture. It'll just evaporate on the way down, at least to start, and then eventually the atmosphere moistens up enough that precipitation will fall all the way to the ground. And we call that virga when it's snowing at the cloud level and not at the ground level. That will happen. Radar will probably say within the next hour we should start snowing, but that will not happen. We won't probably start snowing at least until 3 to 4 o'clock, probably closer to 4 o'clock before we really start to see snow, at least especially accumulating snow. As first flakes might happen between 3 and 4. But that's what we have to look forward to this afternoon. You can see, let me just erase that last squiggle there, and you can see that our shield of precipitation, this first wave, is really starting to pivot towards us. Here's still our main low over now just south of Chicago over Illinois and Indiana, and it's the cold front from that is raced way out ahead of it. It's actually pushing off the East Coast right now, and actually the warm front is way out here, and this is what we call an occluded front, which means that it's kind of like it's basically a front that used to be part of either the warm front and the cold front, and they have raced so far out ahead that there's not really a temperature difference from one side to the other, but there's still some forcing along this front now. It's called an occluded front. That's not really important, but just in case you were wondering. And so that's the precipitation that's going to hit us first, and that's basically been locked in for the last day and a half, what exactly is going to happen with that. We're going to see band of snow move through. We're going to get 3 to 5, maybe even 6 inches of snow, and that's going to happen between this afternoon, like I said, about 4 o'clock, and midnight, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. That first wave swings through. Probably like 4 to 6 inches of snow, I would think, out of that. That is completely locked in. It would be shocking to see anything different happen with that. Then after that, we're still pretty locked in. The whole forecast is pretty high confidence at this point. But what happens after that is a low pressure system is going to form right here, off just south of, probably right in this area. I drew a little L there, but let me kind of circle right south of New York City, is going to begin to form. And as that starts to form and take over, the energy from this storm, which is moving this way, is going to transfer. So the storm will kind of just die in this area here, transfer its energy here, and then this storm starts to, the winds around this will really start to kind of wrap back in, and our moisture will come kind of south to north as opposed to this kind of southeast to northwest direction, and that will that's our second half of the storm. There may be a lull between those two things as the energy transfers. It looks like some of the forcing, the forcing that's causing the precipitation to happen, the upward motion in the atmosphere looks to stop, or not stop, but at least slow down, and we kind of get into some of this drier air here over West Virginia, and we talked about this again yesterday, but that will probably slow down our precipitation between about between 1, 2 o'clock in the morning through early morning, 7, 8 o'clock. We probably will still see some snow at that point. We could even get a little bit of accumulation. I wouldn't be surprised if between those times we get another 2 to 4 inches of snow. So, it still could snow at a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch an hour, enough that the roads will still be slick tomorrow morning. But it will mean that it's not going to be absolutely terrible. I'm sure schools will be canceled, but if you have to get out in the morning, it won't be like the roads have 5 or 6 inches of absolute mess on them. They'll probably be able to plow tomorrow morning when it's not snowing too hard and get them passable. It'll just be slippery, so just take it slow. Then after that lull, this storm really starts to get cranking. Again, we talked about this yesterday. It's not going to be an incredibly strong storm, but it'll be strong enough and it'll be developing fast enough that it is going to get really turn the winds from the southeast and then eventually over to the northeast. We're going to get a nor'easter. That's where we get the name for it, and it will turn all that moisture turns into precipitation that's getting thrown at us from the Atlantic Ocean. And then the snow will pick back up in intensity. We could see some heavier bands tomorrow. That's maybe one change. Yesterday I was saying kind of steady light snow. It looks like particularly around noon, sometime between late morning and early afternoon tomorrow, we could pick up, get a couple of bands that move through. I wouldn't be surprised to see inch of snow an hour, maybe even inch and a half of snow an hour for a couple hours in a row there. And then that starts to taper off, but it takes a long time to taper off, and we'll kind of have some waves of snow as this storm develops pretty slowly and doesn't really move. It essentially, in the first 24 hours of movement, it makes it to Cape Cod, essentially. A really slow mover, and so it takes a long time for the precipitation to shut off, which means that we could pick up out of that second half of the storm. There's still a little bit of wiggle room with where the heaviest of that falls, whether it's just south of southern Vermont or right over the top of us, or just east or just west of us. There's a little bit of, and those are some of those things, especially with a developing storm, you really can't tell till it happens. They won't make a huge difference in our predictions. It does make a difference on like the plus. So we're going to talk about precipitation amounts. Let me just go straight to the forecast and we can talk about that. So snow starts, like I said, by 4 p.m. today. There's a lull that will occur late tonight into early tomorrow morning. Don't think that the storm is over just because it's not snowing real hard when you wake up tomorrow morning. That probably means we're just in the lull. It's going to be fluffy. The winds will be light, so power outages are not going to be a problem. Total accumulations look to be 12 to 18 inches, and I still left the plus in there because higher amounts, where there could be higher amounts for northeast-facing slopes. So say if you live in Weston, or if you live in Winhall, if you live even in some places down like in Dover and Wardsboro, places like that, if you live on kind of the eastern slopes of the Green Mountains, as they're coming up through, you'll get those 18-plus inch snowfall towns. Certainly the ski areas, Stratton, Magic, Mount Snow, Okemo, they'll all get that kind of snow. Bromley will get big snow out of this too. So all those places are going to get a lot of snow. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see more than 18 inches for some of those higher facing slopes. And I left the plus in there as well. I think the 12-inch amounts are probably kind of in your valleys. If you're down in Brattleboro, or if you're over even in Springfield where you get actually shadowed a little bit as the winds in the Connecticut River Valley, you may only end up with a foot or around then. I think most of the places kind of right along the West River, especially the northern part of the West River where I live, like in Londonderry, probably even here, I'd be surprised if we got less than 15, 16 inches of snow. There is still the chance if we end up under the heavier bands there, which again, you really can't tell till right in the moment, for that plus to come to fruition. 2 feet of snow would not be out of the question with a storm, maybe even a little bit more if you end up in the right spot. Somebody probably will get that much snow out of the storm, whether that happens here in southern Vermont, or if that happens just to our west in the southern Adirondacks, or if that happens over the Berkshires. If I had to guess right now, I'd say probably over the maybe over the very southern part of the state in Vermont and the northern Berkshire, so right kind of along the Massachusetts-Vermont border, where I'd not be unexpected at all to see those 24-inch totals. Somebody's going to get that. We may not. You know, like I said, it's kind of tough to tell until the moment. I'll keep you up to date on that kind of stuff tomorrow. I think everybody gets at least a foot of snow out of this, unless you get well south into Massachusetts where you get a lot of mixing, or if you go north. If you're watching me from anywhere north, certainly if you get much north of Mount Holly, there is going to be a sharp cutoff to the north. Northern Vermont gets almost no snow out of this, which is kind of unusual. Even if you get towards northern Rutland County, northern Windsor County, your snowfall totals are probably going to start to drop off. So there you're only looking at maybe 6 to 8 inches of snow as you get further north from here. For those of you in the rest of New England, there's going to be it's going to be a transition zone kind of west and north of Boston, this is more of a southern central New England storm. Eastern Maine will get snow as the storm pulls out, but the bulk of the precipitation is actually going to kind of fall in central and southern New England. Central New England's going to get the snow. and southern New England will get mostly rain. Far northern New England doesn't get much out of this. You'll get your chance. You've actually already had lots of snow up there. So if you have any questions, certainly ask them in the comments section below. I'd love to answer those. And I will be going live with all sorts of measurements and things like that later on this afternoon. Not live with a broadcast, but live with updates and things like that on the Facebook page. Just so that you know, if you're interested, I'm now publishing these on YouTube and also on Instagram, so that I don't want you to have to do Facebook in order to follow the weather guy. So if you like to follow me on Facebook, I'm going to keep doing that stuff, and more of the text updates will be on Facebook and Instagram, but the videos will all go to YouTube. You can find me at if you search for the West River Weather Guy on YouTube, you can find the videos, all the past videos. You can make comments there too. All right, if you have any questions, like I said, leave them in the comments. Stay safe this afternoon. Try to enjoy the snow. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. If you like to ski, enjoy it. It's going to be great. All right, have a good day. Talk to you soon.